Jai Shankar. Let's start with the Sabha Prarambha Prarthana. Dakshinasya Samarambha
शङ्कराचार्य
Shankaracharya
मध्यमा अस्मदाचार्य पर्यन्ता स्मर्या गुरुपरम्परा श्रुति
Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashyakrutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। परिज्ञानाश्रम श्रीगुरुशङ्कर परिज्ञानाश्रम शङ्कर सद्गुरु केशववामन कृष्णपाण्डुरङ्ग आनन्द परिज्ञान गुरु सद्यो जात शंकर सद्गुरु गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। ओम सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति।
Jai Shankar. Good evening, everyone. Today we've all gathered here for another Avkash session. I would like to start off by introducing Dr. Yamini Bellare. She has secured a PhD in Health Service Provider in Psychology. She is also Clinical Assistant Professor of Psychology at the Indiana University, and she is a licensed counseling psychologist. Also, I would like to make a few things clear. Some of them being, तुमगेल questions असल्यारी एक chat section असं Microsoft Teams आरी. So please ask your questions in that section only. And I request everyone to keep their videos on, their audio on mute. Also, we are recording this session. However, Q&A वेळारी आम्ही त्या recording बंद करचेसाठी to respect the privacy of the people asking the question. So yeah, that's about it. Over to you, Yamini.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Shri Bhavani Shankaraya Namaha. Om Shri Matre Namaha. Jai Shankar. I would like to begin by offering my pranams at the lotus feet of Param Pujya Swamiji and thanking them for this opportunity or avakash to present this webinar to you today. So, like Divya said, please feel free to ask any questions that come up during the webinar. I'll be happy to answer them. So our lives have really changed radically in the past few months. So we've gone from having these schedules and in a very predictable way of life to going and having so much uncertainty on a day-to-day basis. We're also dealing with a lot of anxiety, stress about our health. And when we're experiencing so much stress, anxiety, and uncertainty in our lives, it does affect our mental well-being pretty significantly. And as humans, I think we are really good at taking care of our physical health, right? So if we have a cold coming in, we go for a kasai or we get cha and we make sure we go to the doctor if we're not feeling well. But what happens when we're feeling stressed or anxious or emotionally overwhelmed? We're pretty good at pushing all of these emotions and our mental well-being under the carpet and kind of ignoring it. Okay, and the problem with that is that it kind of gets worse. So the goal of this webinar today is to kind of start this conversation about mental health and well-being, encouraging all of you to be more open about taking care of your mental health and making mental health as important as physical health, as your spiritual health as well. Now, when I talk about this, some people say, but isn't it selfish, you taking care of yourself? But let's think about it this way. If you don't take care of yourself, how are you going to take care of other people? Your family, your friends, your spouse, your child, right? You have to make sure that you are in an okay space before you start helping and supporting other people. So let's start this conversation with some of the unique challenges that COVID has presented us with. And the biggest one is uncertainty. It has changed our lives in such significant ways, and there's no real end in sight, right? The lockdown has always been a moving target. We're not really sure when it's going to end. And that is very distressing and overwhelming for us. Because our minds are not really able to make sense of this uncertainty. Okay, we'll talk more about that in a bit. Another thing that has really kind of been impacted is our work-life balance. Now, all of you that work from home or who are studying from home now are probably realizing you put a lot more work in and studying in at home compared to when you went to college or when you went to work. So what happens when we work from home is the boundary between our work life and our personal life tends to get blurred, right? So as a result, we work a lot more. It causes a lot more stress. It might cause a lot more negative impact on our mental health and well-being. So work-life balance has kind of gotten impacted negatively. And the last one is health anxiety. We're constantly worried about have I washed my hands? Who have I come in contact with? Am I socially distancing? That's a lot to think about, right? So COVID has not only impacted our physical lives, it has also impacted our mental lives. So my hope today is to discuss some tips and tricks and some ways to essentially manage some of these emotions that we are feeling in today's times. So let's start with the concept of uncertainty. Now, as humans, we like plans, we like schedules, we like predictability because, hey, it's comforting, right? So we like to know what's coming next so that we can be prepared for it. But in the time of COVID, all of that is not possible, right? Things are changing on a day-to-day basis. Plans, schedules don't work that well anymore. Your future plans that you had made are not really functional anymore. So uncertainty is difficult. We're creatures of habit and we like it that way. So we will talk about how to cope with uncertainty and how can we kind of develop some semblance of normalcy in our day-to-day lives in this uncertain world. Now you might think that, hey, there are times where you want to be spontaneous, right? And you've made spontaneous decisions which are fun, which are uncertain but fun, but we don't do that all the time. When done within normal limits, uncertainty and spontaneity is fun, but when we're living under uncertainty for such long periods of time, now it's been months, right? It can have a pretty significant impact on our mental health, even our physical health. So we need to remember that our physical health and our mental health are very intertwined, right? They impact each other. So like we exercise our bodies and we take care of our bodies by nourishing it, we also need to nourish our minds as well. We'll talk about that in today's webinar. So we've talked about some really stressful things, right? So let's take a little bit of a break, right? A mental health break, and try a very simple exercise. It's called the square breathing technique. Now, very simple, deep breathing tends to help us calm our minds. It improves focus, reduces anxiety, helps us study better, improves memory. It has a range of different positive impacts. And our Param Pujya Swamiji talks about diaphragmatic breathing as well. Now, diaphragmatic breathing, we have like an organ right under our lungs, right above your stomach, that is known as the diaphragm. Now, when your lungs expand to their full capacity, your diaphragm also expands, and hence your stomach comes up when you're breathing. Okay, that is real deep breathing. And over time, when we're anxious or overwhelmed, our breathing becomes really shallow. So you kind of have to take a pause, take a step back, and then engage in this deep breathing exercise so that we can center ourselves again. Right? So if you're sitting, make sure you're in a comfortable position, your back is supported. You can keep your eyes open or closed, doesn't matter, but make sure you're in a comfortable position for this exercise. And we'll do 3 rounds of this. Okay, so if you're ready, let's begin. So take a deep breath in, hold for a couple of seconds, and breathe out. Let's try it again. Hold. Take a deep breath in. Let your lungs expand to their full capacity and hold. Breathe out. Let it all out. Hold. Let's do it one last time. Take a deep breath in. Let your lungs expand to their full capacity. Hold. And breathe out. Let's try it once more. Great. So you probably took a couple of seconds to just calm, right? It increases your ability to just take a mental break, a pause, right? So it is such a simple exercise. It's simply deep breathing, but it has such great impact on our physical health and also our mental health. So whenever you're feeling overwhelmed, whenever you feel like there's so much chaos around me and I just need a moment of calm, try this deep breathing exercise. The reason it's called the square breathing technique is simply because it has 4 steps to it, right? You're breathing in, you're holding that breath, and then you're leaving it out. Sometimes it also helps if you breathe out through your mouth. That kind of gives you a little bit of a more powerful sensation of breathing. But you can either breathe through your nose or through your mouth. Now, you've all probably seen a baby breathing when it's sleeping. Babies breathe very deeply. You can see the little tummies going up and down because babies engage in diaphragmatic breathing. However, as we grow older, our breathing tends to get shallower and shallower. Okay? And that reduces the amount of oxygen in our brain, in our body. So sometimes we have to take these breaks in order to take these few deep breaths. Okay, take a moment to relax. And you can do this anywhere, right? And it's very similar to pranayam and other techniques that Swamiji talks about. So now let's move on and talk about uncertainty, right? So how do you deal with uncertainty? How do you wrap your head around such uncertain times? So when you find yourself going into a rabbit hole, right? So we start thinking about the future, and then one thought leads to another thought, leads to another thought, and now you're million years into the future and you're worrying about things that you have no control over, right? So for instance, I'm not doing well at work. I'm probably going to get fired. I'm probably not going to get paid for a very long time. That'll affect my rent. And now you've kind of gone. That's the way our mind works, right? One thought leads to another thought. It's a domino effect. So we need to stop this overthinking, right? Because our overthinking gives us a false sense of control, over uncertainty, but it lasts for a very short time, and now we've kind of freaked ourselves out, right? We've overwhelmed ourselves. You're really feeling emotional, right? So we need to stop that overthinking. And overthinking happens more in times of uncertainty, right? In times of chaos. So stop thinking about the worst case scenario. Focus on the here and now. Okay, right now is what I have control over. And then ask yourself, so what do I have control over right now? Right? So I have control over calling my friend. I have control over doing a deep breathing exercise. I have control over eating a good meal. I have control. So if you're worried about a job, I have control over creating a CV or a resume, right? So that gives us more energy to do something, and it saves a lot of time and energy from overthinking. Okay, and it gives you a sense of calm. So another thing that you can do with overthinking, I call it the stop thought technique. Now, when your mind is going a mile a minute, okay, very loudly say to yourself, stop, right? So even when I say stop, you probably felt a moment of a pause in your brain, okay? And that is enough for you to stop overthinking, okay? So essentially you say stop, and then you refocus on something else. So what do I have control over? Let me focus on that. So that is the stop thought technique. I love it. I use it all the time, and it's very simple and very easy to use. Finally, find connection, find support. Now, in times of uncertainty, we feel lonely. Okay, there's lots of research on loneliness. You can feel lonely in a crowd. You can feel lonely even when you're with family, right? Because our everyday daily schedules have changed so much that we feel like I don't see my coworkers, I don't see my friends anymore. My old life is kind of gone in a lot of ways. And that can cause a lot of loneliness. And you'll be surprised, but they found in some research that feeling chronically lonely has the same effect on your body as smoking 15 cigarettes a day, right? So it causes a lot of stress. It causes your body to react negatively, right? So loneliness is a huge problem, and a lot of researchers are calling it an epidemic. Okay, so when you're feeling lonely, find connection, find support, text someone, call someone, have a chat with a family member, some kind of connection and support. So some of you might be thinking, oh, what about social media? Now, social media is great, right? But within certain limits, right? So when you find yourself just scrolling mindlessly or endlessly through Instagram, it's not really helping your mind in any way. Okay, so limit social media exposure. Okay, and right now with so much news and people posting all kinds of things on social media, it kind of gets overwhelming, right? So limit your exposure. Okay, don't spend too much time on social media. So another very powerful tool to take care of yourself is known as self-compassion. Okay, self-compassion is essentially being kind to yourself. Okay, we're very good at beating ourselves up. Okay, we tell ourselves things like you're a failure, you're good for nothing, you're lazy, you're dumb, right? And we usually are very mean to ourselves, and we would rarely say the things that we say to ourselves to other people. We're just brought up that way. It's just the way the society kind of conditions us. So we need to change that gradually. Be kind to yourself. Okay, I didn't do well in an exam. Stop beating yourself up. Take a step back and say, I didn't do well. It was because I didn't work hard enough. I'm going to give myself a break, and I promise I shall do well in the future. Okay, be kind to yourself and be kind to others. We're all in this together. That takes us to our next step, common humanity. Now, COVID is a pandemic. In every country, the impact of COVID is felt, right now. So remind yourself, I'm not in this alone. My friends, my family, my children, everyone are in this together. Okay, and that gives you more power, okay, to overcome, to take care of yourself. So, and the final step is mindfulness. You've probably done mindfulness already, but you haven't heard the term. And Swamiji talks about it all the time. Ashtamurti Upasana, if you've done that before, is where you're feeling one with nature. That's nothing but mindfulness. Your meditation, japa, these are all mindfulness practices. Okay, so what is mindfulness? So mindfulness is you're observing what is going on either inside of you, right? What is going on for me emotionally. You're also observing what is going on around me, right? So Ashtamurti Upasana, you're observing the elements of nature around you. So that's observation. Now, observation should be non-judgmental. So just observe what is going on in my body. Right now, I'm feeling anxious. Right now, I'm feeling overwhelmed. Right now, I'm feeling nervous. Stop at that. Okay. Avoid exaggeration, rumination, adding things. Okay. So we say Rai ka pahad banana, right? So that is exaggeration. So a lot of times when we identify, oh, I'm feeling anxious, we start overthinking, right? And now you've exaggerated it. You've increased the impact of that anxiety. So stop after you've observed, I'm feeling anxious. Okay, I want to take a breath. So that keeps you from overthinking, exaggerating. Now rumination, let me explain the word. If you've seen a cow, right? A cow chews cud all day, that is known as rumination. Humans ruminate in thought. Right? So we take the same thought and we think about it. Okay, it's like running around in circles, but without coming up with a solution to your problem. So rumination is problematic because you're thinking and you're beating yourself up about something, but you're not going anywhere with it. So rumination is dangerous, exaggeration is dangerous, and mindfulness allows you to stop doing those things. Okay, so observe what is going on non-judgmentally. So a little bit more about mindfulness. Now, mindfulness comes with practice. Okay, they've done these studies on monks. They've done studies on different Swamijis because they are powerfully mindful. Okay, it's a very powerful tool. And they've done MRI studies and scans with these Buddhist monks, with Hindu monks as well. And they found that mindfulness has a very powerful positive impact on our minds. Okay, and it comes with practice. Even 5 minutes of mindfulness in a day has a very positive impact on your mental health and well-being. Okay, so all of you that are listening today, I want to encourage you to try some kind of a mindfulness exercise at least once a day. Okay, 5 minutes, that's enough, good enough. And then you can start increasing the amount of time. Okay. So in a mindful exercise, you first gain awareness. Okay, so what is happening in my body right now? Okay, I'm feeling a tightness in my chest. I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling like nothing is working out. So awareness is step one. Next is observe it. Okay, if you don't add to your emotions, you're not going to exaggerate. Okay, just observe non-judgmentally, and then let go. You've acknowledged, I am feeling anxious, and now I'm going to let go of my anxiety. So sometimes with my clients, I say, think about a cloud, right? Clouds are always moving. Put your anxiety on a cloud, let it go. Okay, some people like using waves. Put your anxiety on a wave, let it go. Put your anxiety on a leaf, let it go. Okay, so you can use different types of imagery or images in your mind to let go. Okay, it makes it easier. And then if you find yourself wandering, like your mind wanders during this mindfulness exercise, it's normal. Okay, that's what minds do, they wander. So you kind of have to hold it and bring it back. So come, bring your focus back onto the present. Say, okay, your mind wandered, it's fine. I acknowledge the wandering of my mind, and now I'm going to focus again on the present. And how can you do this? using a deep breathing exercise, okay, or focusing on something in your environment. So if it's raining outside, focus on the rain. If it is really windy, focus on the wind, right? So there are different ways of doing this mindfulness exercise, very powerful, and it helps improve your focus, your attention, memory, range of different things. So if you're an artist or if you're a singer or a dancer, a lot of people who engage in these things also experience deep levels of mindfulness, and that's known as flow, okay, F-L-O-W, flow. And that is when you feel one with what you're doing, okay, you feel one with the colors, you feel one with the music, the notes, right? That is a powerful form of mindfulness, and you don't have to be an artist to feel that, okay? So the more you practice mindfulness, the more likely you are to feel that sense of flow. Okay? So some more things that you can do with uncertainty. You're probably already doing this. I think sometimes people assume that taking care of your mental health is a lot fancier than it actually is, but it's actually some of the skills and some of the things you're already doing, I just want to validate that you're doing the right thing. So develop a schedule, okay? So this kind of goes back to work-life balance, right? So when you went to work, you came home at 5, you left your work at 5, and you came home and now you're starting your home life. However, now that you're working at home, the boundaries are very diffuse, okay? So develop a good schedule. This might not be possible for everyone, but if you have space in your home, try and create a separate workspace, okay? So that is your corner where you sit to work, and that's going to improve your ability to focus at work at home. Another suggestion would be don't work on your bed, okay? Your bed is for sleeping and meditation only. Don't work on your bed, because if you're doing something like working or studying on our beds, our minds start connecting the bed with stress, okay? So that affects your sleep. So whenever you're trying to sleep on your bed, your mind automatically starts thinking about work, okay? So avoid working on your bed. Use your table, sit on the floor, but anywhere but the bed, okay? Because sleep is also important. And right now, our generation is actually losing a lot of sleep. We don't sleep much. We spend a lot of time in front of screens before sleep, and that affects sleep quality. So you have to make sure you're getting enough sleep, okay? So develop a schedule, make sure you're sleeping on time, and try and be strict with yourself. If 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock is your cutoff for work, stick to it, okay? Be strict with yourself. The second aspect is communication. Now, you're spending a lot of time with people that you never did before, right? So you went to work, you went to school, then you came back to your family, but now you're around everyone all the time, and that can cause stress, that can cause communication issues. So don't assume that my mother or my spouse or someone else can read my mind. They're not good mind readers, okay? So if you feel that you need something, or you need something from others, or you need something for yourself, communicate, be open. That helps you live better together, right? And if you are in harmony with the people around you, it helps reduce stress pretty significantly. Another thing is take breaks, okay? It's okay to have some alone time. So if you need just, a couple of minutes to yourself, it's okay. Do something that gives you joy, right? Is it listening to music or engaging in a hobby, coloring, right? If you've seen those adult coloring books, it's nothing but a mindfulness exercise. When you're coloring, it takes you into a mindful, relaxed, calm state. Okay, so there are lots of apps as well on mindfulness. So take breaks, do things that give you joy. If it's dance, if it's music, if it's singing, take a few moments in the day. And this could also be something very simple. Okay, so if you're a new parent and you're like, oh, I don't have time for breaks, it could be taking 5 more extra minutes taking a bath. Okay, even that gives you a little bit of a breather. So give yourself few breaks during the day, you will function a lot better. Then meditate. Swamiji talks a lot about meditation. A lot of you probably taken japa. Even if you're doing 5 to 10 minutes of meditation a day, it works out really well. So find that time of day that works best for you. Is it before bed? Is it after you get up? Is it after lunch? And then spend some time meditating, relaxing, focusing on your spiritual well-being as well. So now I'm going to talk about something technical. Okay, so if you have any questions, do not hesitate to post them in the chat. So knowledge is power, right? And if you know how your mind and your brain works, you will be better at managing your mental health. Okay, so so thoughts are really powerful. Okay, thoughts about situations can influence how you feel about them. Okay, so essentially, how you think about a situation influences how you feel about it. Okay, so this is exactly why if in a crowd someone makes an announcement, different people will respond differently to the same announcement. Okay, why? Because each person has a different style of thinking about the situation. Okay, so how you think about a situation influences how you feel about it. Okay, I hope you get the basic idea. So let me give you an example. I called my best friend, she didn't pick up. So automatically you might think, oh, she doesn't like me anymore. She's angry at me. Okay, so the event is calling your friend. Thought is she doesn't like me anymore. She's angry at me. So what is the outcome? How am I going to feel? I might feel sad, or I might feel angry, or I might feel distressed, right? So same situation, my friend didn't call me, right? However, this time I'm going to change the way I think about the situation. Okay, so in this situation, I say, maybe she's busy. Okay, maybe she has gone for a bath. Okay, she'll call me back. Right? So same situation, you've changed the way you thought about it, and this gives you a new outcome. So essentially, you're adding a step. Okay, so thoughts a lot of times are automatic. Okay, and so sometimes you kind of have to take a break. The event happens, thought happens, take a step back. So how can I think about this situation differently? Is there an alternate way of thinking about the situation? Okay, so those kind of questions allow you to change the way you think. Hence, you're not torturing yourself, you're not exaggerating, you're not wallowing in self-pity. Okay, so new outcome. So let me give you another example. Okay, so I'm driving and my tire gives out. Okay, so I go to the side of the road and I say, oh my God, now my day is ruined. Okay, my day is ruined. What am I going to do? So now the outcome is I start feeling anxious. I start feeling out of control and overwhelmed. Now same situation, I think, okay, I'm safe. I'm safe. I'm on the side of the road. I'm going to call someone to come help me. Okay, am I still feeling a little anxious? Yes. But am I feeling more in control? Yes. Right? So take a moment, think about your thoughts, modify them, you will change the outcome. Okay, thoughts are powerful things. However, I want you to remember this. If there's one thing you remember from my talk today, I hope this is one thing. And that is, thoughts are not facts. Okay, thoughts are not facts. Thoughts are just thoughts. They're opinions. Okay, they're not facts. So for instance, you say, I am a failure. Okay, that causes a lot of powerlessness. However, failure is an event. It is not a person, right? So you're kind of giving yourself more power to do something about a situation that you didn't do well in. Okay, if you say, yo, I'm a failure, then you're not going to have enough energy to do anything about it. Okay. Similarly, if you say, I'm a lazy person, I'm an anxious person, no, you're not. You're a lot more than those things. So think about this as, I experience laziness, I experience anxiety. Okay, so change the thoughts. Don't give them so much power. Okay, try and change your perspective of things. Okay. So another very powerful concept is that of resilience. Okay, whenever I think of resilience, I think of a lotus. Okay. Why a lotus? Because a lotus blooms in the mud, right? So it's so beautiful, but it's blooming in such inhospitable environment. So humans are all resilient. Okay, we are born resilient. However, there are times where we need to work on our resilience. Okay, so what is resilience? Resilience is the ability to bounce back from difficult situations. An example would be, a lot of people say Mumbai is a very resilient city. So every year we get flooded. Every year there is something or the other that happens, right? But we are able to bounce back. Okay, so the resilience piece is the ability to bounce back. So there are ways you can increase your resilience. So think about, so when you feel like, oh, nothing is going right, okay, so take a moment and think about this. So how have I dealt with things that are difficult in the past? Okay, you've probably dealt with similar situations before, right? Maybe not the same, but similar, right? So ask yourself, how have I dealt with such things in the past? What are some of my strengths? Okay, we as Asians, okay, there's a lot of research on Asians and how we're very good at beating ourselves up. Usually if you ask an Asian, tell me about yourself, we usually start with our weaknesses. I'm not good at this, I'm not good at that. But if you ask a European or an American, tell me about yourself, they start with their strengths. Okay, so a lot of times we kind of put ourselves down. So sometimes we kind of have to remind ourselves, these are my strengths. Okay, I have dealt with things like this in the past, so I need to remind myself of those things. Another very powerful concept is gratitude. Okay, feeling thankful. So in situations like this, in COVID, right, we're in this together with other people. However, we need to be grateful and count our blessings, right? So I have a loving family. I have food in my stomach. I have shelter over my head. I have all of these things that are working for me, right? I still have a job. So we tend to forget those things sometimes. So if you want to make it a more kind of practice kind of thing, you can follow a gratitude journal. A gratitude journal is nothing but using a notebook and writing down things every day that help you feel grateful. Okay, that helped you feel thankful. It could be something very simple. I played with a dog today and it helped me feel thankful. Okay, I saw a very cute baby today and that made me smile. Okay, so gratitude journals are very powerful. And you can write 2 or 3 things that you are grateful about every night before going to bed. And that has a very powerful positive effect on your thoughts. And finally, you have a resilience circle. This is a very fancy way of saying who are the people that you trust. Okay, so friends, family, people that you feel I can reach out to. Okay, you don't have to suffer in silence. You don't have to suffer alone. It's okay to reach out to people. Okay, so a resilience circle essentially is have a set of people that who you know I can lean on them if I need anything. Okay, so it really helps to improve your ability to bounce back essentially. Some other strategies, very simple. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them. Exercise has a very positive effect on your mind and your body. Even something very simple like yoga, pranayam. You don't have to like lift weights or do something fancy, even something very simple that your body can take and do. Follow that. So exercise is very helpful. Eat healthy. A lot of times when we are anxious or stressed or distressed, we either eat too much or eat too less, okay? Or we don't eat healthy enough. So be aware of that and make sure you're getting healthy meals in a day. Reconnect with your hobbies. A lot of people are doing this. Like they've started baking bread and posting mandalas on Facebook and stuff like that. So reconnect with your hobbies, okay? And then finally, limit the news, okay? So unfortunately, we live in a world that bombards us with information all day, every day, and that can get really overwhelming. So turn off the news channels. Reduce the WhatsApp forwards, okay? Because a lot of them don't have any scientific evidence or research behind them, right? And it unnecessarily causes a lot of distress. So limit those things. Similar to social media, those things are okay in small doses, but if you can overdo them, it has a negative impact. Finally, so it's as important to reach in, right, as it is to reach out. So everything that we've talked about so far is emphasizing that reaching in, okay. But now I'm also encouraging you to reach out. So if you feel that my family member or my friend is not doing well, I'm concerned about them, it is okay to ask them about it. Okay, so don't nag them. So a lot of people worry that if I ask someone about anxiety that they're feeling or depression, or if I check in with them, say, hey, how are you doing, man? How have you been? It's going to worsen their mental health, or it's going to worsen their anxiety. That's not true. It's a myth. Okay. Talking about your mental health actually improves it versus bottling it up. Okay. So asking someone about their distress or expressing concern actually increases their likelihood to seek help or talk about it or feel better even. So check in on people. If you're concerned about someone, check in on them. Even if it is, I'm here if you need me. Okay, you don't have to push your help down their throat. Simply say, if you need me, I'm here. I'm just a message away. I'm just a phone call away. Okay. Be open to talking about mental well-being. Now, India has come a long way. Okay, so previously we had a lot of stigma, a lot of stereotypes about mental well-being, but now we're kind of moving towards a more positive ways of thinking about mental health. Even the fact that we are having this webinar today is a sign that we're kind of moving towards more of an acceptance towards mental well-being. Then finally, keep a list of helplines. Now, there are lots of helplines and hotlines. I looked a couple up, but it depends on which city you're in India. So keep a list of helplines. Okay, these are manned by people that are trained, people that are, that know how to listen, and it's anonymous. Okay, so if all else fails, if you have, if you want to talk to someone, keep a list of helplines. Okay, so we can talk more about this if you have questions. A couple more things about reaching out. Don't problem solve. Okay, so for you, your friends' issues are like, oh, I can solve it for them, but your solution might not work for your friend, right? Because they have their own experiences, they have their own thoughts, their own lives. So your solution might end up doing more harm than good. Okay, so be a better listener. Active listening, you probably heard about this before. Active listening is truly listening without judgment. Okay, tell me what you're feeling. Let me listen to you. Okay, I'm not going to give you my opinions unless asked. I'm not going to solve your problems. I'm just going to listen to you. Humans are not very good listeners. Okay, we always want to put our 2 cents in, but with practice, we can all be better listeners. So learn how to listen to your child. Learn how to listen to your spouse, your family members. It'll improve your communication. It'll improve the nature of your relationships as well.
Okay, that was amazing, Yamini. Thank you so much. We couldn't thank you enough for throwing so much light on the techniques, on how one can seek help, on how one can, actually go through this whole process and emerge stronger. I'm sure this has helped a lot of viewers um, deal, gain knowledge from your information during these times. So I'm again thankful to you. So formal vote of thanks. Firstly, we would like to thank and place our pranams at the lotus feet of Param Pujya Swamiji for giving us this avkash. Thank you, Yamini, for continuously just explaining concepts and telling us solutions to how to deal with stress and anxiety and depression and mental health overall, how to actually combat these aspects. I would also like to thank the organizing team of the Chitrapur Yuvadhara office and all the participants, all the Yuvas who patiently sat through the whole webinar. And I'm sure you all made some notes on how to deal with everything. So I guess we'll wrap this up with the Sabha Samapti Prarthana. Om Nandantu Sadaka Sarve Vinashantu Vidushakaha Avastha Shambhavi Mestu Prasannostu Guru Sada Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kashid Dukham Apnuyat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.